Already, I think we're live. So, hello everyone. Happy Saturday. And thank you for joining me for the second installment of my new Instagram live series, September Saké Saturdays with Somm4All. Now, for those of you who missed last week's inaugural episode, you can find it posted to IGTV, or you can also find it on my Somm4All Facebook page. So we're outside today. The weather's cooperating, so that's wonderful. Hopefully it's coming through nice and clear. And some initial housekeeping just before today's event. As sake, that we're going to be talking about, is indeed an alcoholic product, I need to ask anyone and everyone that is not of legal age to purchase and consume alcohol where they live, if you're watching either here live today or on a replay on IGTV or whatever, that it's time to say goodbye. You do need to be of legal age to purchase and consume alcohol to follow along. But I do thank you for your interest, and check back with me when you are legal. All right, so for everyone else, let's first start with a quick recap of last week, of what we talked about last week. So I started off by outlining who I am. My name is Paul. I outlined the services that my company, what Somm4All, offers. We then began our intro to sake by chatting about what sake actually is. Okay, so quick test. Who remembers? Anyone? I can hear gears turning. Virtual gears are turning in minds. Okay, so well, if anyone said that sake is a 2,000-year-old traditional Japanese alcoholic beverage made from select strains of brown rice, you got it. Well done. Next, we talked a little bit about how sake is made, that the rice is sanded, what I call it sanded, but it's actually polished is the technical term, and that it's done based on the desired style that they're looking to produce. Then it's steamed, right? We talked about steaming the rice to soften it. We talked about how mold, called koji, is an integral part that's then infused with that steamed rice. And then it's mixed with water, and it's mixed with yeast, right? And did anyone remember why koji, the mold, is so important? Just a quick reminder, that mold is what changes the starches of the rice into sugars and allows for alcohol to be created through the process. So after all that, we tasted a classic Junmai sake, and I mentioned that there are other styles of sake. And this is what we're going to be talking about today. We have two sakes to be tasted today as well, so different styles. The categories of sake I mentioned are either basic or what we call premium sakes. So today we have premium sakes. Basic sakes are simpler in style, and they're called futsushu. So Futsushu. You see that futsushu, or you see basic sake on a label, that's what they are. Anything else is usually in the premium category. Most of the basic sakes are clear and colorless. They can be a touch sweet. They can be mildly acidic. And they have very mild and mild fruit notes for the most part. Premium sakes, those are made up of different grades of sake, with the six most prominent being, even the B's are like in the sake. Live TV, folks. So the premium sake is made up of 6 different grades for the most part, with the six most prominent being Junmai, Honjozo, Jingo, Daijingo, Junmai Jingo, and Junmai Daijingo. Hello, Mr. B. Just scoot you away. Okay, so I'll admit, all of those were a lot of words, and yes, a lot of vowels. And it can be a little bit confusing, but let's try to simplify this a bit. So, Jingo as a style indicates that the profile will be fruity, floral. It's going to be less acidic, less umami savory notes. Daijingo effectively means big jingo. So we would expect more pronounced aromas and more pronounced flavors with a Daijingo. Again, big jingo. And that's what we have here today. When we talk about Junmai, you see Junmai. That indicates a pure rice style, and that there has been no distilled high-strength alcohol added. And we're going to talk about adding distilled alcohol in next week's episode. But Junmai means there's no additional alcohol in there. Now, you may be saying pure rice. Yeah, I did say that before. Junmai means pure rice. So you're saying pure rice. Didn't Somm4All last week say that all sake is made from rice? Yes, I did. You're right. To keep things easy, let me say this. The term pure rice loosely means that a degree of the initial rice grain has been sanded or polished away. You know, depending on on what words, if any, follow the word junmai, we get a sense of how much rice remains after that polishing, sanding that I was talking about. You know, this is actually part of the Japanese law to ensure that consumers, when they're buying these products, that they have an idea as to what the style and profiles are going to be. So, straight up junmai in a label, just junmai, like what we had last week, that indicates that approximately 70% of the grain remains after it's been polished, or my term, sanded away. So 30% has been sanded away, 70% remains. If we add the word jingo after junmai, or if you see just the word jingo on the label by itself, it means that approximately 60% of the grain remains. The word daijingo, right, remember, big jingo, daijingo, either on its own or after the word junmai, means that approximately 50% of the rice is left. All right, I know what you're thinking. Paul never said anything about there being math involved with sake. Very true, but these numbers are important as they're the pathway to what aromas and flavors that you can expect. You see that the more that the rice grain is left after that production and then after it's fermented, the greater the tendency for the sake to have either more acidic or more cereal, lactic, and umami notes. Conversely, the less of the grain that remains is going to provide the finished sake with more fruit and floral notes and less acidic, less umami, and when I say umami, it's savory, less of those type of tones. So when we're talking about 50% or 60%, you know, we're expecting to have more fruit and less umami in the sake. So the more of the grain that's removed, the closer we get to the core of the rice grain itself, which, as we said last week, was almost pure starch. You know, and we said that, again, since there was no sugar in the sake, that, you know, we have to add the mold to convert that starch into sugar so that we can have this yummy sake, the alcohol that's in the yummy sake. Okay, so are you still with me? Because that's a lot of info. I'm tuning you all in. I'm seeing and feeling virtual head bobs that, yes, you're with me. So, good. Now we start to get to a bit of the fun part. We're gonna begin to taste. Now, I posted on my Instagram account yesterday the two choices that we got for today. We have a junmai jingo, and we have a junmai daijingo. So, jingo, the junmai jingo, and junmai big jingo, right? We just talked about that. Both are brewed by the Hakutsuru Brewing Company of Japan. Little backstory to Bakutsuru. Hakutsuru translates to white crane, I believe. And the company, or the sake rather, dates back to about 1747 when a gentleman called Mr. Kano started making sake. Eventually, he called the company Hakutsuru after white crane in 1749. The brewery itself is located in the Nara region of Kobe, Japan. And that's an area that's interesting because about 10% of all sake producers, or quality sake producers in Japan, are located here. The area is known for its natural spring water source. So again, sake only having 4 elements, right? We got rice, we have koji, we've got water, and yeast. So water is a very important part, and that Nara region is very well known for its natural spring water. So Hakutsuru made its international debut at the 1900 Paris World Fair. So the world caught sight of it there. The business operation continued to grow out through the 1900s, and it's now ranked as the #1 selling sake brand in Japan. So Hakutsuru sakes in Japan, they are ranked #1 in terms of sales. All right, so great history, I know, but the burning question that you're all wondering is, what do they taste like? Okay, so we're going to start with the junmai jingo. So that's this bottle right here, the junmai jingo. We're going to put that nice front and center. Listed at 14.5% alcohol by volume. So it's just a smidge below that range we talked about last week. We said that sakes typically fall within 15 to 17% alcohol by volume. This guy comes in at 14.5, so just a smidge below. And the rice polishing ratio, or how much of that has been sanded, sits at 60%. So 60% of the rice grain remains, 40% of the rice grain has been sanded away. So we take a look at it. We see it's clear, colorless. Give it a little bit of a smell here. We see that, or I'm finding anyways, initial aromas at room temperature. A lot of melon coming off of this. I'm getting a honeydew, fresh honeydew, cantaloupe. There's a little white grape, like white grape juice kind of smell. Almost a rice pudding, so like a bit of a sweet note to rice, a rice pudding note. And then some dried fig, dried raisin. And there's a touch of salinity, of salty minerality in there, just touch. So it's really nice on the nose. Let's give it a taste. Again, for those of you tuning in for the first time, no matter what I'm tasting, I try and swirl it all through my mouth while I take in a little bit of air. Makes a lot of noise and it looks a little goofy, but there's a rhyme and a reason to it. I want to coat my entire mouth with whatever I'm drinking so that I can get all my flavor receptors, all the different flavor receptors firing in the mouth, so I can gauge the sweetness or the acidity of it, or if it's boozy or not. So that's kind of why I do that. All right, so what does it taste like? On the palate, it's very clean. It's soft, smooth. Those melon notes definitely come through. Hello, Mr. B. You want some sake, don't you? Yeah, the melon. Again, very nice. That honeydew cantaloupe melon comes through. I do get some rice. So like cooked rice, but just straight up cooked rice. And that mineral note kind of comes through again. And that's nice because it helps to keep the palate nice and clean and bright. So, pretty happy with that one. We'll put him aside. Now we're going to move over to the Junmai Daijingo, the big jingo. So ABV on this one, alcohol by volume, 15.5%. So again, right in that 15 to 17% zone. The sanding ratio, or officially the rice polishing ratio, RPR, it's listed at 50%. So essentially half of the rice has been sanded away, leaving a lot of the core for us to work with. On the nose, so more pronounced, and that goes hand in hand with big jingo. Definitely the aromas are more pronounced. And I'm getting white peach. Get some nice fresh apple on there. White grape juice again. It's funny, both in them. That's interesting. And I'm getting a pear note, and I'm going to say it's Asian pear, not because it's sake, but just because the Asian pear has a unique, flavor profile to it, and that's what it is, a bit of a more delicate pear note, Asian pear on there, and a bit of floral, just white flower that's on this. Very lovely on the nose. Okay, so on the palate, we're going to go in for a taste. Okay. Wow. Very light. Almost delicate. Very light. Almost delicate on the mouth. Very smooth. Almost velvety smooth. And again, peach, apple, pear, and those soft rice tones, they're all coming through. So, the flavor profile is following the nose. But just, very soft. Wow. I have another little taste of that one. Okay, I like that. All right, so Junmai Daijingo. What are my thoughts on these? Personally, I think both are very good wallet-friendly entries into the sake world, if you want to try different styles. Just a reminder to everyone, I said this last week, I'll continue to say it throughout the other segments. I am not affiliated with the Hakutsuru company. I'm not a rep, I'm not doing anything. I bought these on my own accord. So, the reason I've chosen these, and throughout the entire September Saké Saturday with Somm4All is to showcase the different styles and, just to what I think are going to be budget-friendly options for people that are maybe a bit of a novice when it comes to sake. So, I'm choosing them on my own accord, not affiliated. But, these two, yeah, pretty good. I mean, the Junmai Jingo, this guy here, he comes in at $9.25 at the LCBO for a 300 milliliter bottle. If anyone's interested in trying it, the stock number, I posted it yesterday, but the stock number is 28969 LCBO locations. So $9.25, geez, pretty good. And this guy here, the Dai Jingo or Big Jingo, $11.50 at the LCBO here in Ontario. Stock number 240127, again 300 milliliter bottle. But I think if you're looking to try different styles and get a sense as to what the difference between a Junmai Jingo and a Junmai Dai Jingo is, I mean, for $20 for the two of them, I don't think you can go wrong. I mean, there's others out there and different categories and different price points, much like the world of wine and spirits. But to start off with, I think I think these are two good examples to get your palates wet with sake. So there you have it, folks. We're going to wrap things up for today, coming in just around the 15-16 minute mark, and that's about what we're aiming for with September Saké Saturdays. We're not trying to bombard you with too much. We're not trying to get too granular. This is, again, intro to sake over these 4 Saturdays. So I hope you've enjoyed episode 2 of September Saké Saturday with me, Somm4All. Next week, we are going to talk about different styles again, because there are a few others. And we're going to talk about how to properly serve sake. So that's what these guys are here for. We're going to talk about how different serving temperatures also affect flavors and aromas. So for these guys, these are at room temperature. So the aromas and the flavors I was talking about are at room temperature. I mean, we're outside, but it's about 20 degrees Celsius outside, so I consider that room temperature. But again, we'll talk about warming it and cooling it and what that does to sake and the styles next week. Of course, there'll be at least one other live tasting, so I will try to post that to my Instagram account prior to the event, should anyone want to try and find it out there. I will do that probably on Thursday or Friday the latest. And that's a wrap, folks. See you all. See what I did there? See you all. See you all right here next Saturday, September 19th. We're going to do it a little earlier, though. It's an important day for my executive producer, so we're going to have some festivities in the afternoon. So September Saké Somm4All episode 3 will be here on Instagram live at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope to see everyone there. In the meantime, I'm going with the premium. You folks be safe out there. Be well. Enjoy your weekend. And cheers from Somm4All.